lights is on.
Hello and welcome to Black Excellence and Reliance, the economic resilience of Black people throughout history. My name is Karen Jefferson. I am the instructional specialist in the Palm Beach County School District Office of African, African American, Latino, Holocaust, and Gender Studies. This presentation will highlight the economic prosperity of some of the first Black millionaires in the 20th and 19th century. I will also discuss how these millionaires invested their wealth in the Black community. The first person we're going to talk about is Mary Ellen Pleasant. Scholars are unsure if she was born on a plantation in Georgia or born in Virginia. She's also believed to have roots in Louisiana. She stated she was born in Philadelphia and was sent to Nantucket, Massachusetts to work as a domestic servant. Sometime during the 1840s or around 1848, Mary Ellen Pleasant headed west to California during the gold rush. She moved to San Francisco and found work as a cook. Mary Ellen Pleasant used her domestic jobs to eavesdrop on the wealthy. So she would take the information that she heard and invest the money or take the tips that she heard from the wealthy people around her and use her money as a vehicle to invest in other things to create an income for herself. So she dabbled in a number of business ventures like laundries, banks, dairies. She's known to help establish the Bank of California, and she also owned and invested in restaurants. Towards the end of her life, she stated that she gave John Brown, the abolitionist, the money to fund the raid at Harper's Ferry. During that time, it was about $30,000, equivalent to $900,000 today. Mary Ellen Pleasant was an abolitionist herself. She was the conductor of the Underground Railroad and established the railroad in California. She helped a number of enslaved people escape their captors. She's also known for contributing to libraries and meeting places for Black people. She contributed to the American Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. And she also got herself involved in some social justice work. She sued a streetcar company for refusing to stop for her, although there was space in the car. The California Supreme Court declared segregation unconstitutional because of her case. On the 1890 census, she listed herself as a capitalist for her profession. Historians believe her fortune totaled more than $30 million during that time, equivalent to $864 million today. Before Madam C.J. Walker, which is another person we're going to talk about next, we've talked about Mary Ellen Pleasant, but there was also a wealthy little girl by the name of Sarah Rector. Now, her road to success or millions was a little different. She became a millionaire at age 11, making her the wealthiest Black girl in the nation at that time. Sarah's family was once enslaved by the Creek tribe or Creek tribe members of the Muskogee Creek Nation in Taft, Oklahoma. After the Civil War, her parents were entitled to land allotments as a result of the Dawes Act, which allowed the federal government to take land from the natives and redistribute it. Black children were also granted 160 acres of land. Land granted to former slaves was usually useless or infertile, but Sarah Rector's allotment was in the middle of an oil field, and it was valued at $556.60. In order to pay the taxes on the land, her father leased the land to an oil company to generate that income. An independent oil driller by the name of B.B. Jones produced a gusher on her land that brought in 2,500 barrels or 150,000 gallons of oil per day. As a result, Sarah Rector made $300 per day in 1913. That would equal to $7,000 or $7,000 to $8,000 today. By the time she turned 18, she was worth about $1 million, which would equal to $11 million today. Now, Sarah Rector invested her money in various business ventures as well. It's unknown whether she particularly invested in any like social justice type projects or anything of that sort like Mary Ellen Pleasant. But it's important that we include Sarah Rector in our history because, as I stated before, usually when we think about the first successful Black person or Black woman, we tend to think of Madam C.J. Walker, but she was not the first. And next we have Madam C.J. Walker, who is known as the first Black woman or self-made millionaire. And she became successful by developing and building her hair care empire that became the largest Black-owned business in America in 1915. Madam C.J. Walker was born Sarah Breedlove in Louisiana on December 23rd, 1867. Her journey would take her from Louisiana to St. Louis, Missouri, and then to Denver, Colorado, where she met Annie Pope Turnbow. Annie Pope Turnbow gave Miss Breedlove a job selling hair care products. And later, Sarah Breedlove would develop her own hair care formula called Wonderful Hair Grower and began selling the products using the name Madam C.J. Walker. Walker was the last name of her husband, Charles Walker, whom she divorced in 1912. Walker began recruiting and training other Black women to sell her products as door-to-door agents. She set up training schools to properly train what she called Madam C.J. Walker hair culturists. Madam C.J. Walker expanded her business to Indianapolis. She established beauty parlors throughout the United States, South America, and the Caribbean. She became the wealthiest Black woman in the United States by 1915. She was a philanthropist, using her fame and money to fund many causes. She donated money to the NAACP, the National Association of Colored Women, the YMCA, and she provided contributions for, or the largest contribution for saving the home of Frederick Douglass. She often spoke out on social issues affecting African Americans. So pictured here on the screen, you will see Madam C.J. Walker in the top left in one of her fine automobiles. There is also in the bottom left corner a picture of the national headquarters where she housed her business, and 3,000 women worked there during that time. The building also served as a community cultural center, a ballroom, a theater, hair salon, and corporate offices. And in the middle of the screen towards the bottom, you will see a picture of her home, Villa Loraro, in Westchester County, New York. The home overlooked the Hudson River. And to show you how wealthy and successful Madam C.J. Walker was, she lived in the same neighborhood as John D. Rockefeller. The home was also designed by a Black architect by the name of Vertner Woodson Tandy. Madam C.J. Walker was a successful, accomplished Black woman, but she was not the first, as I mentioned earlier. And today we see a number of other successful Black women in other successful businesses that are prospering even today in 2021. Abraham Lincoln Lewis. Now we're going to come on down to Florida because in Florida, we had several successful African Americans during that time who created and generated wealth that they put back into their communities to help other Black people. So Abraham Lincoln Lewis was born in Madison, West Florida in 1865. And he's labeled as being possibly the first Black millionaire in Florida, which he generated that wealth probably around 1935. He was a philanthropist and founder of the Afro-American Life Insurance Company in Jacksonville, Florida in 1901. He started the company in his late 20s with 7 other men. He was the only man who was a laborer. He did not have a formal education like the other men. A.L. Lewis realized that Black people needed businesses that would assist them and provide for them during their time of need. Because you have to remember during this time, we had, Jim Crow laws, we had segregation, and Black families suffered a lot of times. If the head of the family passed away, there was no money to keep the family going or to pay debts. So Abraham Lincoln Lewis created this insurance company to help widows, Black women, continue to take care of their families in the event that her husband had passed away. He traveled to Philly to visit Mother Bethel Church. Mother Bethel Church had a benevolent society that took care of Black people. And what Abraham Lincoln Lewis did was he studied that model and used it to build his business. He's known for owning his own golf course and a beach called American Beach, which is up, I think it's near Amelia Island, near Jacksonville, Florida. Now, American Beach was called American Beach because it was supposed to be a beach for everyone. His quote was recreation and relaxation without humiliation. So he wanted the beach to be desegregated, but everyone was welcome. Unfortunately, due to Jim Crow laws and segregation, that wasn't the case. It was primarily a beach for Black people, and Black people owned homes around the beach. There were businesses, restaurants, and clubs around the beach, and it was very popular. And Black people from all over, even wealthy and famous Black people like Cab Calloway would come and stay on American Beach. Abraham Lincoln Lewis also used his funds to donate to Black colleges such as Bethune-Cookman College, now Bethune-Cookman University, and Edward Waters College. Eartha Mary Magdalene White, also another millionaire in Florida, born in Jacksonville, Florida in 1876. She built the first public school for Black children in Bayard, Florida. She was an entrepreneur, and she was the first female employee of A.L. Lewis's Afro-American Life Insurance Company. She was a charter member of the National Negro Business League, a philanthropist herself. And along with her mother, she founded the Clara White Mission, which was a mission or a place that took care of people in need. She also established the M.M. White Nursing Home. And her quote was, "Do all the good you can in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, for all the people you can, while you can." So she also moved to New York and attended Madam Hall Beauty School as a young woman. She could sing. She attended the Madame Thurber's National Conservatory of Music, and she sang with the Oriental American Opera, which was the first African-American opera company in the US. She also sang with or under composer Rosamond Johnson. And Rosamond Johnson is the composer of the Negro National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. She graduated from Florida Baptist Academy in Naples, Florida with a teaching degree. And as an entrepreneur, she owned a dry goods store, a house cleaning business, a taxi company, and a laundry business. She also became a real estate broker, and she was the first female employee, as I mentioned earlier, of the Afro-American life insurance company started by A.L. Lewis. So as you can see, Eartha Mary Magdalene White was very successful, and she used her wealth to pour back into the community to help feed the homeless of the Jacksonville community. She also worked with the Women's National Defense Program, and she donated a building and provided a space for the American Red Cross to enlist men. And one of her accomplishments was being appointed by President Richard Nixon to the President's National Center for Voluntary Action. Her desire to help her community would last from the early 1900s all the way to 1974. Dana Albert Dorsey. We're going to come further south in Florida, down to Miami. Mr. Dorsey had a fourth grade education, and he was a self-taught carpenter. He used his carpentry skills to build the income needed to purchase a parcel of land in Overtown, which is South Florida, Miami area. Dorsey realized there was a need to provide housing for Black railroad workers. So on the parcel of land, he built housing that he rented and reinvested the earnings, thus creating a large real estate portfolio. He's known as the first African-American millionaire in Miami. A.L. Lincoln Lewis was known as the first African-American millionaire in Florida. But D.A. Dorsey sold land to the city of Miami to be used for a park for Black residents. Again, because of segregation and Jim Crow laws, Blacks had to create their own spaces, playgrounds, parks, beaches, in order to have, the same pleasures as everyone else. He also built a library for the Black residents of Miami. D.A. Dorsey purchased Fisher Island in 1918. His goal was to develop a high-class resort for Black people. The resort would consist of a hotel, cottages, and boats for travel to and from the mainland. However, Dorsey ran into a few obstacles, one of them being that Fisher Island wasn't as accessible as he thought for Black people. So he ended up selling the island to Carl Fisher, thus giving it the name Fisher Island. A possible reason for Dorsey selling Fisher Island was that Henry Flagler designated the east side of the railroad for whites only. The west side was for Blacks. So it was difficult for Mr. Dorsey to develop the island, being that he couldn't get the workers that he needed to the island to develop it. Today, Fisher Island is a private exclusive island that serves as a residence to many celebrities and wealthy people around the world. The island is located 3 miles off the coast of Miami. So imagine what this island could have been had Dorsey been able to develop it the way that he wanted it, because today the island is home to a lot of wealthy, extremely wealthy people around the world. D.A. Dorsey also owned property in the Bahamas and Cuba. The Dorsey House, which was his home where he and his wife lived, it still stands today in Miami or in Overtown. Dorsey Park, the D.A. Dorsey Educational Center, and Dorsey Memorial Library. So Dana Dorsey used his wealth, again, as the other millionaires that we talked about earlier in his presentation, to reinvest in his community and to help railroad workers and those who were in need, to help pull them up as well. So Black history is often introduced to us from a deficit perspective. Like, we're often taught about the horrific nature of slavery, Jim Crow, but we're rarely exposed to the brilliance and self-reliance of Black people throughout history. This presentation is one of many examples of how we can transform the narrative of Black people from one of oppression to one of strength, resilience, and self-reliance. So we must also focus on the importance of cultivating Black excellence, as well as the importance of building community. This concludes my presentation on Black excellence and reliance. I hope you found this content beneficial. This is my contact information. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me via email or follow me on Twitter. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.